Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's me again. Hope you all having a good Labor Day weekend. Drinking responsibly, eating a lot. And I'm just here on this beautiful Saturday morning, and I just want to do a video. I saw this video about Steven Crowder did with debunking the Bruce Lee myths, and I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. Have been since I was a kid. I think one of his best movies is Chinese Connection, and I'm a fan of Steven Crowder's, and I think he's kind of been the Paul Revere, pushing buck in this current system that we have. This PC bullshit that is going on, this communist whole fucking movement that's going on, and he's bucking the system, pushing back. He's a breath of fresh air. As I said before, I stopped watching TV and movies. If I watch movies, they're old movies, like from the '70s and the '80s, and I just like watching a lot of older stuff. But I go on YouTube for all that. I don't even listen to talk radio anymore. But I listen to Steve Crowder. I'll download his stuff to my MP3, and I drive for a living, so it gets me through the days. But I just want to make a video about him debunking the myths. And a lot of Bruce Lee fans are gonna take it the wrong way. I see where he's coming from. He's right. There are a lot of myths surrounding Bruce Lee, and the problem with that is a lot of the new generation, all they see is that myth. They don't see the truth. And he refers to this new movie that comes out. It's called Birth of a Legend. And it's based on a fight that Bruce Lee had, an actual fight that he had back in the '60s. And I've seen the trailers for this movie, and it's a complete fluff piece. It's just bullshit. They take in a fact of Bruce Lee's life that happened, and they inflated it. And it's just to make it's just to squeeze another dollar out of the guy's name. That's pretty much all it is. Because at the end of the day, say what you want to learn truth, you want to learn the facts about anything or anybody, you're not going to learn it from Hollywood. I like to put it's 90-10. 90% bullshit, 10% they'll pepper in the facts and the truth of the situation. But other than that, you're not getting the real situation. You want the real situation, anything, because you got to understand, they have to put their stamp on it, and they have to weave it in such a way. It's marketing, marketing, commerce. They have to sell the movie, so they have to sell the idea. And if it's not very interesting, it's not going to sell. The movie's not going to sell. And it was based on a fight he had, an actual fight he had back in the '60s. Bruce Lee's a martial arts instructor. He became a martial arts instructor. Yes, he was an actor. He started off as acting when he was a kid, because his father was an actor. His father was trained in the Chinese opera, the same place that Jackie Chan learned how to fight. Learned a lot of his stuff, but learned a lot of his acrobat and fighting in the Chinese opera, and he parlayed that into a movie career. And Bruce Lee used to go with his dad to the movie sets. So Bruce, his father noticed that he had a natural knack for performing, so he put him in one of his movies, and he saw that the kid was a natural. So that's how Bruce Lee's acting career started. It started earlier on when he was a kid, because of his father. Yeah, so he got into acting, but later on when he came over here, he had trained under Ip Man Wing Chun. So he parlayed that when he got over here, and he opened up a martial arts school with Jun Fan, Wing Chun Kung Fu. And he was a teacher. Well, back then, a lot of the elder Asian martial arts masters, they were very orthodox, and they didn't believe in teaching non-Asians their secrets, basically their family recipe for the martial arts and kung fu. Because at the time, for those of you who don't know, the only martial arts that are being taught in America was the stuff that a lot of the guys that fought in World War II, they came over here, and they brought back with them judo and karate. And that was it. So that was their only perception. And other than that, America's perception of martial arts was this high fly, wire fight, like the type of stuff you see in like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That's what martial arts movies used to be. They weren't very practical. They're just like over exaggerated, and it's just very almost comical. But anyway, Bruce Lee's teaching, and they go to him, and they issue him an ultimatum and say, look, you got to stop doing what you're doing because you're disrespecting us. And Bruce Lee comes out, he says the old traditional ways of doing things, on top of coming out and teaching Americans, non-Asians, he comes out and shits on the traditional ways of doing things. So all these elders, they don't like this guy. They're like, oh, what's this guy doing? So they send someone, and they issue him a challenge. Like, look, we're gonna send someone. You're gonna fight this guy, and if he kicks your ass, you got to close up shop, buddy. And if you kick his ass, well, then you can keep doing what you're doing. So he's like, fine, I'll accept it. And the guy he fought was a Wing Chun guy, and the guy was his name was Wong Jack Man, And so, he accepts the fight. Now, I don't know how they're going to portray in the movies, but the reality of the fight, and I learned you learn this if you go watch the documentaries. Two of my favorite documentaries, Bruce Lee, which was Bruce Lee, Curse of the Dragon, and Bruce Lee, the Immortal Dragon. But you'll learn this if you just watch the documentaries. They'll give you facts. Once again, Hollywood doesn't give a shit about facts or the truth. Okay, they don't care about all that. They're just trying to they take the truth and they spin it and twist it and turn it into a pretzel, just so it will become interesting enough for you to go buy a ticket and just put more money in their pockets. But the actual fight lasted 3 minutes, and that's by Dana Inosanto, Taki Kimari, Bruce Lee's wife. Um, Go watch the movie Dragon and Bruce Lee's story. There was a black guy that was there too that he trained under Bruce Lee, but he was there as well. I think he's in Curse of the Dragon. I'm pretty sure he's in Curse, but he came out and said the fight lasted about 3 minutes, and the fight wasn't really much of a fight per se. It was a lot of it was basically just the guy just ran around. Guy ran around. He evaded Bruce Lee, and I finally Bruce Lee caught up to him and put him down to the ground, made him submit, and made him tap out in Chinese. So that was the whole fight, and that was a turning point for Bruce Lee when he realized, that his old traditional ways of doing things, the way he had learned at Wing Chun was just not very. It was dated. It's like you can't. You're gonna fight someone. You think you're gonna fight in the traditional way. You think you're gonna fight in the way that you were taught in a dojo in a school. And when you get down to it in a real fight, this guy gave Bruce Lee the run around, and Bruce Lee got all winded. It's like they were fighting for a little bit, then the guy's running around, and then you're fighting a little bit more, and the guy was running around evading him. And Bruce Lee just wasn't physically at his physical peak to where he could handle this. And in his mind, he just started reassessing everything that he learned. And he's like, the fight should have been over quicker, and that's how Jeet Kune Do came about. But that's the real fight in a nutshell. Not very interesting when you think about it. It's not something that's really Hollywood platform worthy. But like I said, it's just another way for them to twist, to squeeze a few more dollars, and ride the coattails of Bruce Lee a little bit longer. And yeah, there are a lot of myths surrounding him, and that's no coincidence there. But that's just to keep you got to look at it from, I guess, the way Hollywood looks at it. If you focus more on the myth, people care more about the lie than they do the truth, and that's the truth. The lie is just more entertaining. The lie is just more interesting. Hollywood is just everything they put out is a lying piece. But I seen the trailer for this movie, Birth of the Legend or whatever it was, and it's just another fluff piece. It got didn't even get 4.5 stars on IMDb, so it's not even worth watching. It's just so over exaggerated. It was the very thing that Bruce Lee hated about martial arts movies at the time. They were just weren't very practical, And I think if Bruce Lee was alive, he wouldn't be very happy with the way this movie comes out. But Steven Crowder, he makes a point. He does make a good point that a lot of it is myth, and they should focus more on the truth of the matter. Yeah, we don't have any evidence outside of his movies that the guy never fought, but the guy was a martial arts instructor, and he taught self-defense. He didn't teach MMA, he taught self-defense. So he taught you how to fight, so you can fight against someone who's attacking you in a real world fight. The way that shit works is once you go read his books, put it into practice yourself. I'm not saying go pick a real fight, but I mean a lot of the stuff is just very practical. It's not over the top. It's not flashy. It's not all these elaborate and complicated routines that you have to learn. It's just very straightforward. And if you really take the time if you're really that interested in Bruce Lee, you'll go and watch documentaries. You'll go and read the books that were written by people who knew him, by people who spar with him, who work with him. And you're not going to listen to people who say, oh yeah, Bruce Lee wasn't no real fighter, or Bruce Lee, oh, there's no evidence of Bruce Lee being a fighter. Well, Bruce Lee was a martial arts instructor. You know what I mean? So he knew how to fight. Definitely know how to fight. But that's the other thing. Just because you know how to fight doesn't mean you go around picking fights. And it's a lot of this flack comes from the MMA community, which I think MMA is like a lesser form of boxing. And it's funny to me how a bunch of people are going to go critique Bruce Lee when the majority of those fighters, they can't even fight. They have glass jaws. Look at those fights. They don't last very long. You know why they don't last very long? Because those people can't take a fucking punch. Just because you can knock someone out in the first minute, in the first round of a fight, doesn't make you a great fighter. It just means that the guy that you hit can't take a motherfucking punch. Let me see you fight a guy who like a boxer, because boxer they train to take that kind of punishment for round after round after round. Let me see you go fight a guy like that who can take a hit and stand there and then give it back to you twice as hard as you're giving it to him. Let me see you go and do that. A lot of them can't do that. That's why I look at them. I look at MMA like I look at wrestlers. I like watching wrestling. It's very entertaining. But a lot of those wrestlers, they try to make it into legitimate sports, and they couldn't make it for whatever reasons. So what did they do? They took a step down. They took a knee, and got into wrestling to make a career out of it. And that's what MMA is, in my opinion. This is just me talking. But that's how I view MMA. But as far there's going to be a lot of Bruce Lee fans that come out and say that Steven Crowder's what he's talking about. He's a pretty smart guy, and I think if you just look at it from this angle, like there is a lot of lies and bullshit that Hollywood and the media focus on Bruce Lee, and they don't put out enough of the truth. I think when you look at it like that, you don't have to agree with the guy said, but just be more understanding, because it makes sense. He's right, and the problem with that is a lot of these newer, younger generations, they're just going to see it for the myth. They're not going to look at it for the truth. And I think it's just a way for Hollywood to rope in more people onto the Bruce Lee wagon. And for those who are really interested in learning about Bruce Lee, they're going to go and watch the documentaries. I think that's the whole point that he kind of missed. It's like that's the whole point of putting this movie out there, because you see, if you put out the facts, like I just gave you how the real fight happened. Now, if I went and told you that was the real fight, it's not very interesting. The kids today, their imagination, they have not the imagination, they have the attention span of a dog, so it's like you have to make it interesting. I get it. Like I said, Hollywood's not really a truth or a fact machine. It's just a bullshit machine. That's what they do. They weave stories. But this is how they rope in new fans to Bruce Lee. Now, it's on the fans to and maybe in this case, it's on people like Steven Crowder to be like, look, that's just a movie. If you really want to learn about Bruce Lee, which is very interesting, the real Bruce Lee is even more interesting than what they put out. If you learn the truth about him, go read the books about him, go watch the documentaries about him, like the ones I just gave you. But learning about the real guy is just as entertaining, because it's just as interesting if you really care about that type of thing. And if you don't, then you're just going to go to the movies and look at it for just another martial arts movie. But I think that's just the point he kind of missed. It's just like the reason why they're doing it is they're trying to get more seats and asses. They're trying to make more fans of Bruce Lee. And it's probably going to be a 50-50 spectrum. Some are going to get into Bruce Lee and really want to know the truth, and others are it's just another martial arts movie for those people who are fans of martial arts. But he's right. You have to and for all those of you who are Bruce Lee fans and are probably going to hate, don't look at it like he's shitting on Bruce Lee. Look at it like he's exposing the truth. Because as a Bruce Lee fan, you know the facts and the truth about Bruce Lee. And you don't want anyone who's going to come into this club to want to know the facts and the truth. That way they're not out there spurting and spitting out all this bullshit that Hollywood feeds to them. So that was his angle that I was coming from. That's all I just want to say about that. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And you'll have a fun, safe Labor Day weekend. So I'm out of here. Peace. Take care.